Hello there everybody, welcome to episode 24 of my advanced tutorial series for Dwarf Fortress. So today I got quite the mixed plate up here. So for one, I want to continue my adventures into the depths of the adamantine mine. For another thing, I want to prepare the resources that we require to finally go for a nice magma pump. You know, we got this magma pool here at a elevation of -7, which allows me to illustrate perfectly how to construct a pump stack that will transport magma from down here all the way to up here something. Give me a sec. So ideally, I'd like to get it up here, but in all honesty, we might even be taking the magma only to this floor and relocate or forging stuff. We'll see. We'll see. There are plenty of options, but in a nutshell, I want to get this magma upstairs so we can use it. Usually, you are quite well. Most of the time you'll find the magma down there at elevations like these, and this is fairly incompatible with most fortress designs because you have to move the magma somehow upstairs. But I'll illustrate all these things when it's time for that. For today we just want to prepare the resources for that because it's quite the endeavor and it's important to know what you gotta do. I will start, therefore, today with the glass industry preparations that we gotta do. Because that's the wonderful thing. Glass, if you have access to it, is a cheap material that you can and should use for your magma pumping operations. Because it's just very, very easy to get it. So we're going to keep working with green glass here because I personally like green glass for its simplicity. And we're going to start crafting all the material that we require. So glass industry is for me quite the pain because you always need to regather sand. And the thing with collecting sand is that we got to automate it somehow, and that's the problem. You just don't have any decent options to do so. So at the glass furnace we can add in the collect sand job, but it has no conditions that I know of you could add into. So if you know how to properly automate sand collection, let me know. I know of a few workarounds that you can do. I'm personally not a big fan of neither of the methods that I have come up with, but I'm going to introduce both of them that I cooked up so far. They work, but not for a large-scale industry, and that's what's making me unhappy. But I personally keep saying to myself, if I want a large-scale glass industry, I will go for magma furnaces, but that still has the problem with the sand collection. So, what to do? There's one method you can go for. So, for example, we're now needing at the glass furnace. Let me check. We're looking for... Where is it? Ah, well. It's always the same. I don't find anything here. So here, corkscrew. A enormous green glass corkscrew. This is a magma safe corkscrew. That's what we need. So we will make these until we have at least 10 of them, but honestly, I want 30 because we will require a lot of these once the stuff is going for real. So here we go. Let's make that only one job at a time. And now let's use collect sand. And we now link this job to the enormous corkscrew job, and this way we have always some sand. If you fire off the job twice in that regard, I haven't tried it out, but technically this might produce more sand than you originally had. But in a nutshell, this is still a bad form of automation due to the simple reason that you only allocate small amounts of sand there. The other option that I personally often go for is just wing it manually, because, you know, it's just that easy. So we're going to go for amount of 50 glass blocks here. And yeah, I mean it, you know. See, we need the glass blocks also for the pumps. So a pump is consisting out of a corkscrew, a pipe, and a block. So we do require dirty, rotten amounts of these. So let's see, can I link these to more than one? Yes, I can, but this would be bad again. So here this job would only fire off if both of these would be satisfied. So I'm kind of like torn, and this is one thing that where I eagerly take advice from other advanced players. Oh, that's clear glass blocks. Here, got me. So I haven't found a good solution to that. If you know one, let me know. All right. So we're going to go with my solutions that I know of that they work, but I'm not that happy with them either. So enough about that. Let's make sure we get the last piece, and that's the green glass tube. Here, when it's made out of glass, it ain't called a pipe anymore, it's called tube, and I personally think this game needs to stop with these things. Like, you know, oh, I forgot one thing. This is one of the things that I heard complaints about from beginners, and I must say, yes, totally right so. There's no good reason for the game to torture us like that there's pipes and tubes, chairs and thrones. You know, the list goes on, and this is just ridiculous because the items do the same thing. So, if this angers you, I'm with you, friends, and I'm totally behind a notion that this gotta get changed. You know. All right. So this is the setup. I'm going to keep more glass blocks here available, and if you want to make sure that sand is always available, I personally am a big fan of this. You know, the beautiful thing here about that is, if you run out of bags, this will just get stalled. It'll continue once there's enough bags / a bag is empty because the job has been done. So this way you can somehow, you know, keep a hold on your sanity, tad bit at least, alright? So I personally am not a big fan of glass and clay industry due to these resource allocation problems, because I feel like my solutions there are all just a little bit haphazard, you know? That's just my personal impression. Alright, enough about that. We're going to slap down these here, and that's going to be enough for the time being. The only thing that we now require is more wood. You know, our industry is too much relying on wood as fuel. That's why the magma pump stack is such an interesting thing to get going in the long run, because, you know, we really need that, you know. This would totally end the problems with the fuel, because then we'll just be smelting with magma and done. So ordering some more logs could get chopped. This is always a risk factor, you know, because chopped logs mean potentially people running into the caverns into some monsters, but we can't change that. This is one of the permanent risks that I think you cannot really truly avert it, because it's just too hard to ensure that there's never going to be anything. You'd go crazy. In this game, I'm personally a big fan of accepting losses. By the way, so I was recently, a few episodes ago, I said that I'll fix this atom smasher here. So we had the problem that a Grundle was able to climb all the way back upstairs, and that bothered the hell out of me. It also bothers me that they're displayed as if they would be falling with the rodents. Whatever. The problem here was a simple one. The hole here connects to a wall, and that's the whole culprit. So to fix this, we just need to carve out these, place the wall there, and now, you see, the hole is now no longer surrounded by any wall that anything could cling to. And, you know, that's that. So our herbalist survived? Well, I don't know. So that's the advantages of a atom smasher solution. Somewhat afraid that one day. So there's a ghost there. Oh, we haven't had any ghosts yet. You see, it's a Let's Play series. There's always something crossing our way. So we got to do something about that. If you have ghosts, you need a slab. I don't know if we have already a slab in the fortress. I don't think so. I think this is the first ghost that we had. Yeah. So slabs are being made at the stonecrafters, and basically this happens whenever a dwarf hasn't been buried. You know, that's when a ghost arises. Ghosts come in various different flavors. They can be really, really, really horrible. And in any way, I'd strongly suggest you to get rid of them as soon as you can, because they're just bad news. To do so, you just make yourself a rock slab, and then you engrave a memorial for the person that's currently haunting the fortress, and that's that. So, I'm currently going a little bit forward in time before we go back to the adamantine mine. I haven't forgotten about that. But at the end of the day, we do require a lot more resources than we had the last time. So a giant mole is fighting. This, by the way, is a typical hunter, you know? Hunters are... I'm not a big fan of hunters in this game. They're somewhat, you know, spammy. Let's call it like that. They produce a lot of dangerous-looking interactions, and on top of that, they also unnerve me with their constant attacks on things. So, when we got the slab, we're going to add a engraving job, and now you either look how the guy was named, but there's an easier way. Check out who has the flag ghost, you see. So these guys who are all not memorialized yet, they might, or they will eventually, I should rather say, rise up as ghosts. You know, that's something that'll happen sooner or later. So, you know, that's why I just gave a permanent work order for slabs, because I know that sooner or later we will require more of these. Every fortress requires slabs, you know. Alright, the engraving is getting done by this very moment, or at this very moment. And once that's done, we can, you see, there we go. And crushed by a drawbridge in the year, Baron of Glove released. Oh my god, they actually took track of my crimes. So, jokes aside, this slab is now, as soon as it stands there, it's going to put the ghost to rest. Here we go. So, ghosts, by the way, here, there is in this description their character. I don't know if this is still a thing, but when I checked the last time, there were various different ways how ghosts could menace the living, including these even violent attacks. So you better take these somewhat seriously, you know. Alright, and now we go. The caretaker has been put to rest, or Baron actually. And the farm has won a Grand Guild Hall, of course. So the more people you got, the more demanding they grow. But this is nothing new to us, isn't it? So, let's see. We got ourselves, hopefully, some glass blocks, but I don't see any. So, yeah, well, great. Good job, game. So we're going to see... I don't have any glass blocks currently available, so we have to relay that project a little bit. So let's check back on these. Class workers. So no work orders have been currently assigned, and oh my god, they built the glass furnaces out of glass blocks. That's why nothing's getting done. Now that's answering a lot of questions. Okay, so, well, why does my manager not manage? So they have been validated by a manager. So that means we currently don't have a worker feeling responsible for these jobs. Usually when you are patient, you're getting done with these things. But you can also just employ more glass blowers. It's up to you how you want to roll with it. I personally see many different ways how to do this, but since we currently need those green glass blocks quite desperately, I'm going to assign a few jobs here, you know. There we go. Alright, so let's get back to our city here. As you see, the demand for new buildings is never stopping. Therefore, I strongly recommend the construction of several floors for your stuff, because otherwise you will constantly have that issue that people are needing more of these buildings while you're not featuring enough space to do so. And this is one of the situations where I really start to crank out more valuable statues, so let's do so. Let's check out how our stockpiles here are. Betting we got not enough silver here. So for that purpose, we're now going to set up a new smelting basic job, because I'm tired of waiting for these jobs here. So we're going to smelt tetrahedrite. So, but we will do it like that. We're always going to start smelting tetrahedrite as soon as our silver bars went lower than 30. So this way I'll be able to make myself silver that I need, and they're going to do these things automatically. And oh yeah, so we ran out of charcoal also. Make charcoal. You guys got the job. Alright, is there any burrow currently going wild? No. I guess I'm just impatient and and wanting too much from my dwarves at once. That is one thing that occurs quite often, and I'm pretty sure I know why. I did open up a lot of chopping jobs there, and whenever there's a lot to haul, the dwarves are terribly busy, you know? Hauling is one of those jobs that makes dwarves really inefficient. That's one thing that I already noticed several times. So I'm going to go a few minutes ahead in time with this video, so can continue at our adamantine mine. Now then, it's been a few months in this year, and I've had a nice little wholesale slaughter with rodent men in the caverns down below, but I'm very happy to say that we finally have gathered up enough clear green glass blocks to continue the work down here. So it is just like the last time, we need to work completely with the glass wherever we can, and the more of these blocks you got, the easier your job will go. So basically now we're pasting down a piece of glass everywhere, and then we're going to see how things will fare. Okay, unpause this and let's keep going. Also, what's worth mentioning is the food and drink numbers are stable. So I have configured them to don't exceed 1,000. So seeing what I'm seeing here, that means we are currently on a very good path, because we are almost at 200 people. That means the food and drink production of this fortress is exactly in the amount, in the numbers that these people need to survive. That's brilliant. That's as good as it gets, basically. Okay, so we need to carve out this one here as well. And now, well, we're at minus 115. You already know the drill. I've been also doing some serious industrialized wood cutting down here. We are completely deforestating the depths. But, you know, that's what they're good for. That's the wood the elves don't care about. So, this area here is going to be the most dangerous ordeal for us. And you also are totally allowed to only bring your expendable miners to the actual chopping jobs down there. So I'm going to show you in a hot minute what I'm talking about. So here we got the next chamber. And here it's all solid, as you see. It's all solids. So we can go down here and we can easily carve out these tiles here because we already saw that there's no threat behind that because there's no opening there. But give me a sec. I was wrong about these. I'm only right about those. So that's how quickly you can shoot yourself into the foot accidentally. Basically, we don't know anything about that tile either, and we actually only made sure that this tile here is now free. All right. So you can, of course, go for a more risk-based approach than me here. You know, there's no shame in going for like, if I uncover something bad, I'm going to deal with it. But I'm working here on a very safe and sane way of doing this. So I'm pausing this garbage zone here because I want to create a new one down here, just like there. Because I am bothered with all the stones here, so I'm telling them to dump them. And look at us there. So what did we find here? That looks like water. That looks like good old-fashioned water. Alright. Water is actually a really pleasant surprise down here, to be quite honest. So we're going to work with that stuff right away. Meanwhile, we keep dumping these. Alright. Due to the fact that we can see fluid meters here, this is a really, really good way of making sure that you won't accidentally tap into a magma vein. So since we also see that, well, we can, since I'm now 100% sure that there's no liquid behind that, we're going to smooth these babies here, and we're going to ogle what's behind there via the fortification trick. And this way, you can work yourself step by step through this. It's just really, really important that when you want to smack open a water pocket, make sure that you have enough room for the water to dry on. You know, this is really, 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 really important. Okay, so pretty soon I guess we will be able to rip out a few of these floor pieces. It's going to be very satisfying, it tells you. Alright, so I'm a little bit concerned when I think about it that we might have not enough floor space there yet. So, well, these warm tiles are not to worry about. I hope at least. But there is no magma above, no magma below. Sometimes tiles are warm and it's a false flag, you know. That's the game's way of playing with your nerves, you know. So what I'm doing now next is I'm actually going to stall this one. Because like I said, I want to have as much room for those fluids to dry as possible. Because this way we can work faster in here. Also, let's see, well, we're all out of glass blocks already. So, that's a dwarf on fire. So, that's 2 dwarves on fire. If you want to avert that, you must come from a diagonal way. I didn't know that the fireballs could go through fortifications, so I did some science, so you don't have to. But, yeah, well, we lost 2 miners, but this was a totally avoidable way, to be honest with you folks. I myself have not the insane practice and experience with these things. I admit, these are the parts of the game where I'm still learning myself a bit. Like these little things. I mean, technically, I always keep saying it, and I mean it, that, you know, you shouldn't play in a way that you try to avoid every single death in your fortress. This can make your mind quite numb, and at the same moment, well, sounds a bit like a lame excuse for my mistakes here, but that's not actually not what I'm talking about. It's okay to make mistakes. That's more like what I'm trying to say here. Don't hound yourself for things that don't work out as they intended. You know, every single one of these mistakes is something you learned about, and you get shiny diamonds for it. Isn't that nice? So we can now really safely carve these out. And like I said, as far as I know, if you go diagonal, the fireballs are not going to incinerate your miners. So let's see how bad was the body count. I think we didn't lose any of our legendary miners. Praise the miners. So now we got enough room for the water to evaporate, so we can now go for something like this. And most importantly, we have now cleared out some tiles here, and now we can deconstruct parts of the glass flooring again. You know, basically every tile that we actually have already dug out above, which we actually dug out below, not above, we can safely dismantle and use that for future enterprises now. And that's the way how we're going to get us downstairs here, you know. Did they just dump a green glass block? Oh, I know how that came together. I accidentally marked that one, obviously, with the stone block, whatever. Good thing that I catch that, because the next step that we're taking now is we're going to continue that game, of course, downstairs, because in all honesty, it's all nice and dandy here, but we're actually looking for adamantine, and most likely we're going to find that deeper. But this way, we can work ourselves layer by layer for this whole thing, and yeah. As you saw there, it can end quite quickly, quite deadly, but, you know, for me, that's just part of the fun, you know? Because Dwarf Fortress is one game where I really must say it is super easy to play the game too safe. In that case, I mean that you're pulling so many safety levers before you do anything that basically, you know, it is possible to have so many traps that nothing ever will pass your fortress ever again. It is possible to secure yourself so much that you literally suck out the fun out of the entire game. That's because of the sandbox nature of this game, you know. But the wonderful thing about it is, if this type of safety gaming is totally your cup of tea and you're like, come on, Icon, what are you talking about? You're talking nonsense. That's working. That's working out because you are right in that case, and I'm not, because that's obviously the way you're enjoying your game, and that's totally fine. We all have our own way. That's the brilliant thing about it. So we're placing down another piece of glass block here, because, you know, I don't need a glass block here. I already know that there's an obsidian wall. I'm interested in what's behind that. And here we can already see, here's a hot pocket. We don't want to accidentally carve into that. Here we want to have that star ruby, thank you. We don't know, we don't want that fortification any longer, and this is, I think, the safest way of getting the job done that I know of. So here, for example, for this water pocket, let's make it clear. This is the ideal way. You go always diagonally. Also, if you want to open up a magma hot pocket, it's also the way to open it diagonally. You can even open it safe-ish diagonally with the fortification trick. Usually the magma flows slow enough out of the diagonal direction for your dwarf to shoo away without burning to death. But as you saw there, you know, the world doesn't end if somebody dies a brutal fire death. And the beauty of this here is that, let's see, did we lose engravers? No. We only lost the people that do the smoothing jobs and those, where we didn't lose the miners. If you open up with this command, you don't send actually a miner. This guy is actually a hunter. Since I have my I think it's the stone cutting job. Correct me if I stand wrong here. Since I have the stone cutting job here, at the end of the day, it can be everyone. This can be good. This can be bad. But oh wow! But so talking about bad, this is bad. So we accidentally opened up a pocket where there's way more water that we easily can get rid of here. So basically, what we need to do here now is we need to do a a bit of a waterwork here. I'm going through that in the next episode. Basically, to give it in advance, we're going to build a screw pump and take the screw pump to pump out the water from here and pump it downstairs into the magma. Get rid of that. This way, you guys can see in the next episode how obsidian, how you can make obsidian by yourself. All right, guys. So I think I illustrated how you can deal with these things quite well in this episode, and we came quite a nice way. We haven't found any adamantine here yet. That's, by the way, the reason why I'm digging deeper, because this is just the top layer of this whole vein. But it really pays off to go from layer to layer. As you see, there's stupidly high amount of gemstones that we can now safely pick. So maybe we don't even need to screw pump this. Maybe we could actually resolve this by just carving out more of the floor tiles. But you know what? I want to screw pump this because this is a tutorial series and we should try out new things. So thanks for watching. Drop me your comments down below and leave me your ideas about glass production. I'm all ears with the sand collection problem. And leave me a thumbs up on that video. I deeply appreciate. And of course, consider subscribing. It'd be my pleasure. That all being said, check out the playlist links down there. There's more Dwarf Fortress stuff to be found there. And besides that, have a wonderful day. See you there. Bye-bye.